This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor. Station, come back with your call sign again, please, sir.
My call sign here is Kilo Delta 9 Lima Quebec Yankee KD9LQY. You're coming into clear 59. Over.
Roger, Roger. What's the name up that way?
The name is Bill, Bravo, India, Lima, Lima. I'm in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. I was just cruising the band here, and I heard your signal. I have a brand new transceiver, so I would be interested in how I'm sounding. I've had one report of clicking, but none since that, since I've adjusted the microphone gain.
Roger, Roger, Bill. This is Jim. The name here is Jim. And we're located near Louisville, Kentucky, actually on the Indiana side of the Ohio River, right at Louisville. And what radio do you have there, sir?
I have a Yaesu ST991A. Had it for about 3 weeks. Actually, I'm a brand new ham. I got my technician and general license in 1 day. One story there. But I think I've been fiddling with the controls quite a bit, and of course it's all new. But other than that one time, since I turned down the microphone gain, I haven't heard any issues. But again, I think the station you're running here is quite interesting. I hadn't heard anybody doing that before. Over.
Roger, Roger, Bill. Well, do you know where your mic EQ settings are?
Yes, I do, but I haven't played with those yet. There's actually a ham radio outlet up here in the Wisconsin area, Milwaukee area, is having a field day, and Yaesu's going to be there, and they're going to talk about their settings, and so I was going to look at that. Interestingly enough, when I'm talking to you now, I do see on the ALC meter, I'm seeing some red there, so maybe I still have an issue. This is KD9LQY, over.
Well, I'll tell you what, do you know where your mic gain is on that radio?
Yes, Jim, I do. In fact, I had that up right now on my monitor, and I've got it set to 28. It was at 30, whatever that number means. And interestingly enough, talking to you, it may be just getting the mic too close to my mouth. Again, I'm brand new at all this, so I apologize, but since I've backed the mic off a little bit, it's not flashing red anymore on the ALC. So it may be just as simple as operator error and getting accustomed to the transceiver. Over.
Roger, Roger. Well, you know, the way you operate the mic is what you feel comfortable with. You know, usually you want to be within 3 or 4 inches of the mic because most ham radio shacks are not acoustically perfection, you know, and sometimes your radio shack is in your living room and you have dogs, cats, kids, wives, all kinds of activity going on, and so you want to stay relatively close mic'd. And I think that's a good idea because you want a uniform transmission of audio. And so if you stay within like maybe 3 inches of the mic, I think that's a good thing. On your ALC, you want to be running about mid-scale. In other words, when you key it up, and you're like within 3 feet of the microphone and you're speaking, then you want to turn your mic gain up to run about mid-scale on the ALC, Roger.
Okay, Jim, that's interesting because, yeah, it was not mid-scale. It's very close to the top. I can't do this while I'm transmitting, but I'm going to try moving that gain down a little bit more. Yeah, I'm definitely holding it too close to my mouth. I can see that now. I thought it was interesting you were talking about background noise before, because when I first started, I forgot about a dehumidifier right behind me, and I think people were hearing that, so I got in the habit of turning that off. But yeah, I find it very useful. One other thing is I have a ham friend that was coming over today, has some type of a shortwave radio that has a ham band, and he was going to go outside while I was transmitting and just to get an idea of how my voice was sounding and all that kind of stuff. But just talking to you in these last couple of minutes has been very helpful. I think I've noticed a few improvements here already. And again, I'm, there's a significant amount of operator here just trying to figure out this new device and learning all, actually, which has been quite fun. KC9VKV, this is KD9LTY, over.
Roger, Bill. If you got a moment, we could work out a little bit on that equalization. I would. Is that a 3-band EQ equalization or a 2-band?
I think it's a 3-band. I just briefly looked at it in the manual, and it had several different settings, and I passed on it because in the handset that's occurring here tomorrow in the area, they actually had a session that they were going to talk about it. So I've been kind of holding off until then. But yes, I believe it is 3 areas, but it would take me a minute or two to find it on the transceiver here.
Roger. Well, listening to your audio, you're kind of mid-range. You might want a little more top end if you could find that EQ, and if it's a 0 to 10 plus or a 0 to 10 minus, I would put it on about a 5 plus, on the top end EQ, and then take a listen to it and see where it goes. If you could get to your EQ, get to your equalization menu, and take that top end up to about a +5 on the top end. Roger.
Jim, I'm frantically looking at the manual right now because, like everything, I saw this a couple days ago and I should have bookmarked it, but there's probably 100 different settings in here, which I assume is typical. But I'm looking through the book right now trying to find, it's not a front panel button. I have to go through the menu settings to find it. I'm going to pass it back to you and give me a second to look here. I think I may have found it. Over.
Roger that. Well, usually a 3-band EQ, what I do is normally just leave the middle band where it is at flat, middle band EQ at flat, and then crank the top up about a mid-scale of the possibilities. If it's a 0 to 10, I would go to about a 5 plus on the top end. If it's a 0 to 100, I would go to about 50. About half the possibilities of top end boost on the EQ. Roger.
Okay, that sounds good. I did find the settings a little bit of Greek to me, but it talks about a center frequency, gain, and Q. And I suspect gain is what you're telling me to do. And there are, it has basically 3 settings. I'm trying to do that here after I pass it back to you. There's a low, mid, and high. And I'll have to search through it. It'll probably take me a second or two. I'll take a look at that. But do you think that's what we're talking about? It's called parametric microphone equalizers. And these are the settings I'm looking at. Over, Jim?
Roger. Now, a parametric equalizer, that one setting is the width of the area that is affected by the equalization. In other words, you can move the equalization point within a confined area, but shift it in frequency. Whereas most equalizers, are preordained to operate at a specific frequency in the audio band. With that parametric, you can shift that frequency. But I would take it as it is stock, I wouldn't change the parametric part of it. I would just leave that and just boost the top by 5, or about half of the possibilities there, 50 if it's 0 to 100, or 5 if it's 1 to 10 on the top end. Roger?
Okay, I think I got that. It's a little bit confusing. Maybe this is in dB, but it says, again, I assume we're talking about the gain that you're suggesting I change. It's from minus 20 to probably a 10 dB. And when I look at the setting, I just see the number 5. Oh, sorry. I assume that's a dB. Would you recommend picking that up? Because it looks like it might already be mid-range, or if 0 would be mid-range. The other one for center frequency, I'm not sure this is helping, Jim. Center frequency is off. The gain appears to be in the mid-range, and the bandwidth, the Q bandwidth setting, that looks like that is on the top end. That's from 1 to 10, and that's the number 10 that it's coming back with. Again, I thank you very much for your help here, Jim. I'll pass it back again. Over.
Roger, Bill. Well, you have a 3-band EQ, 3-band parametric EQ. So you have a bottom and a middle frequency and a top frequency. So I would leave the middle frequency, the middle EQ at where it is, at 0. It should not be boosted or cut. It should be at 0. So your mid frequency at 0. And then the top end frequency, like we were saying, there are about a 5, half of the possibilities on a boost on the top end. And for now, I just leave the bottom end where it is. Roger.
Yeah, Roger got that. Well, right now, they're at the default, which is pretty close to what you said. But this has been extremely helpful. I'm going to go into that handset tomorrow. And at least now I've got an idea of what to look for and what to listen for. Well, kind of interesting, Jim, but is this a service you provide on a regular basis? Do you have like a weekly schedule or something? And again, I just checked your signal here. You're an honest 5.9, very nice signal coming into me. Over.
Yeah, Roger, Bill. Yeah, every Friday morning between 10:30 and noon or thereabouts, we're on the air, and we are recording our Qso-Vlog program for that week on this frequency, 7189. So we usually run for about an hour and a half on Friday mornings, and record and then post it back on YouTube within the couple of days after. And so folks can then go to YouTube with a call letter search of Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, and that will bring up our Qso-Vlog page. We have about 240 or 250 Qsos now, and this one, since we usually have a lot of folks participating, we don't have enough room to put all the call signs on the title of the program. So what we do is we entitle the program by date and frequency. So it would be my group Aircheck, date 9/28/18, and the frequency 7189. Roger?
Well, that sounds good. I've got some notes on that. And I'll definitely check that out. That's going to be very helpful, because it's definitely important to me. I want a nice, good, solid signal out there with nothing spurious going on. I'm only running about 100 watts here, and I've actually been a little bit surprised on some of the contacts I've made already, being relatively new, and hearing all the comments about the band conditions, which I wouldn't have known it was good or bad to begin with, but I'm assuming I'm doing fairly well. I hit the East Coast fairly often. It may be a function of the time that I'm getting on, but I've been playing around with the antennas and just generally having a real good time. My wife thinks I'm being obsessed with this right now, but it was kind of like on my bucket list, and the code stood in the way. And I'm back to trying to learn the code, but overall, I'm just having a great time with this. Back to you, Jim. Over.
Roger, Bill. Well, I'm glad you're aboard for amateur radio, man. It's going to be a great experience for you. How long have you been in? A couple of weeks or 3?
It may have been a month now. The ham friend I mentioned before, I actually ran into him at a funeral of all things, and he's been a lifelong ham. Operates only on 80 meters. And when he mentioned that the code wasn't an issue anymore, it caught my attention right away. I didn't realize they had dropped that. And so I immediately got interested in it. There happened to be, because of Labor Day, there was a long delay before the next test was up. So I studied for the technician, and one of the people at the local ham radio outlet said, well, they're kind of the same, take the General 2. Well, they're not kind of the same. It was much more difficult than I thought it would be. But to get to the point, I went into the session and I passed the technician one with no problem, and then the general one, I barely made that. I think you can get 11 wrong. I got 9 wrong, but I got it. But interestingly enough, and it's kind of suspected it, but since I've been operating, I think that's the huge difference. A lot of the questions I missed on that were just simply a lack of hands-on knowledge. They actually were trying to talk to me into taking the extra, and I'm glad I refused, because I think I would have been missing out on it. We got down to more memorization instead of really understanding the principles. So I'm going to stick with this for at least a few months before I even attempt to go any higher. And as mentioned before, I've gotten that second bucket list has been CW, and so I want to at least get to the point where I can make a few contacts, and maybe I'll stick with it. Today I was playing around with PK31 and trying to load that, so I'm touching just a little bit of everything here lately. Better give the call sign here, KC9VKV. This is KD9LPY. Back to you, Jim. Over.
Roger, Bill. Well, the thing about amateur radio is that it's so broad as far as the different aspects of it that, I find myself going in a specific area for a couple of years, and then going to another area for a couple of years, and then another area after that, and it's all about being all that you can be as far as what you want to do, And so I find it takes about a couple of years to really be able to experience the whole aspect. Like, when I first got my technician's license, I was limited on frequencies that I could operate on. One of those frequencies was 10 meters. And so I did spend a couple of years on 10 meters, and that just happened to coincide with a very good activity on 10 meters time period. And, I was talking every day to California. I had a buddy out there, well, not a buddy, but a fellow ham operator. It just seemed like every day the conditions led to his house. There's a frequency on 10 meters, 28,400, and that is a unofficial call frequency that everybody monitors and then usually shifts off to other frequencies. But 28,400 is the unofficial call frequency, or maybe official. I'm not real sure. But anyway, so he would monitor that, and I would, that's what I would monitor here. And I would, as soon as I turned my radio on, he was there. He was in San Diego, I believe it was. And so I built a full wave loop antenna for 10 meters. Now this loop antenna for 10 meters is 36 feet of wire wrapped around a 36-foot, in my case it was a rectangular PVC frame. I had, I still have it. It's 10 foot on the horizontal side, and 8 foot on the I used RG6 cable for the element, wrapped tight-tacked it all the way around the PVC frame, and drove it from the top, and it was on a rotor, and is on a rotor that I can rotate the loop around for orientation to get maximum signal. You know, the loop antenna is bidirectional, but it is a good antenna for receiving specific areas, you know, but you've got to be able to maximize that, and that's what I was doing with the rotor. And so like I say, every day, boy, he was, you know, we were back and forth to San Diego, and then everybody else obviously too, but you know, conditions since then have changed drastically for 10 meters. It's not open every day now, it's only open occasionally. Roger?
Yeah, so far I've pretty much just been on 40. That's what my antenna is cut for. I've seen a little bit on 80, but when I go to the other bands, I really don't hear much of anything. Expecting that maybe the band conditions or the antenna. Right now I have an inverted C up, and inverted C hanging off my chimney. And I'm in a subdivision that has pretty strict restrictions and covenants. So I'm already essentially, I don't think I'm violating the rules. I'm already to the point of where you can't see it in the community. So the only place I'm taking going on out there. That just been a little bit hesitant to put anything up there other than a wired dipole because it's just too visible. But definitely a beam on the top of the house, but it's not too complex, not in this area. The other interesting is sort of what happens when you start building stuff on your own and get to that point where you're almost better off buying it. There's always the satisfaction of doing it on a great putting it together, and then I got there with the store the other day, and I noticed they had one for sale. You know, they had different dipoles for the different media bands, and it was almost a little bit cheaper than everything I spent doing it myself. I was on the side of myself. That is one thing I'm working on is seeing if I can get another dipole up there, and maybe going in a different direction so I can get kind of a different polarization. Or not, maybe a different direction. Right now my antenna is pretty much north-south. But that's been another thing I've had a lot of fun playing around with.
Roger, Bill. Conditions have shifted pretty much. You were towards my noise level there for that last transmission. So let me say threes to you there, sir. And I wish you luck on attending that Hamfest and gaining, excuse me, all of the information that you need. And you know, they'll tell you all about the different aspects of it. You know, and welcome into the ham radio brotherhood. I would say. You know, it's. I was really just amazed by the. You know, amateur radio group. There are, you know, bunches of people that just really share a common interest and, you know, go out of their way to assist other folks that need help from time to time or all the time. You know, we all, you know, want to be better radio operators, and you know, it's amazing how much you can learn every day. So anyway, let me say threes to you there, Bill, and you have a good day, and maybe we'll hook up again when conditions are better. Roger.
Roger, Jim. I appreciate the contact. It's been one of the most enjoyable I've had yet, and appreciate your help. I've also noticed you wrote about the band noise. It seemed like it came up, and that's the one thing I've noticed in my other kids here at 10 o'clock Central Time. It just seems like the noise the other things going on. So send me to you, Jim. Very much appreciate the contact. KC9VKV, this is KD9LQY here.
Roger, Roger, Bell 3's underway. This is a Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor. And this is the Friday morning Qso-Vlog session. If you've got a radio that you want to check the audio on, give us a shout. We are recording and we'll post it later on YouTube within a couple of days. And then you'll be able to go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. And that'll take you to our Qso-Vlog page. We've got about 250 Qsos. This one will be marked. You'll be able to identify this one because it'll say My Group Aircheck, date 9/28/18 on 7189 frequency. So if you got a radio you want to check the audio on, give us a shout. KC9VKV.
Good morning, sir. Kilo 4, Lima, Juliet, Mike.
All right, so you are towards my noise level, but try that call sign one more time.
Kilo 4, Lima, Juliet, Mike.
Lima, Juliet, Mike. Roger, Roger.
Roger, Roger.
Roger, this is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor. Name here is Jim, Juliet, India, Mike.
Well, hello, Jim. Name here's Larry. Lima, Alpha, Romeo, Romeo, Yankee. Located in Elkin, North Carolina.
All right, Larry, you're booming in here, sir. What's your radio there?
Running a Kenwood 570D into a RM Italy amplifier, solid state amplifier. Running into a fan dipole cut for 20 and 40 that's homebrew.
Ah, well, it's doing a good job there. What do you think your output power is?
Right now it looks about like 700 watts.
Roger, well, doing you a great job there. You know, I always start my sequence on radios by looking at the ALC. You know, the ALC reading tells almost the whole story about the radio from the standpoint of power, because on sideband the audio level determines the RF level, you know, and so I usually check that ALC and run that at about mid-scale on the ALC. Roger, Larry?
Roger, Roger, yes sir, I understand. Yeah, that's about where we're at. We're running somewhere around that, and it seems to be working okay for us. Got the amplifier through a trade. Traded the fellow a handful of pocket knives for it.
Well, when that guy realizes well, I don't know. I don't know that much about pocket knives, you know, but I think you came out ahead, Roger.
Roger, yeah, I had pocket knives, but I didn't have amplifiers. So now I got an amplifier, and I still got some pocket knives left, so I'm okay.
Roger that, Roger that. Well, it's, you know, today it's unfortunate, but you know, 100 watts today is at this on this frequency at this time is just you know, unfortunately at the 300 mile, 400 mile area, you're going to be right at the noise level with 100 watts, unfortunately. You know, you would expect that that would be up there around a 9 or something, but by you know, the way the band is today, you just you know, you need a little something out of the closet, you know.
Yes, sir, I understand. You sure do. The 100 watts does good, but it just doesn't punch through the noise level. Need just a little something to help you. And this little RM Italy amplifier, I can't say enough good things about it. It's small and it doesn't take up much room, but yet solid state, flip a switch, it's ready to go. And I really enjoyed running it.
Roger, Roger. Now, you don't even have to tune that, right? You don't have to tune that solid state amp.
Right. You don't do anything but just flip a switch on. It's ready to go. I've really enjoyed running it. It seems to do a good job. Not had any trouble out of it or anything. Seems to work real well.
Roger. Now, you don't. Some of them you have to select the band that you're going to operate on. Do you have to select the band?
No, sir. It's 10 through 160. Don't have to select anything. You just flip a switch, turn it on, and it's ready to operate. It does have a preamp on it if you want to run it. And it has a selector switch for sideband and AM. So you can either run it sideband or you can run it AM/FM.
Well, that's beautiful. You know, and it has so many applications. You know, we take for granted sometimes, you know, our sight-challenged friends in this hobby that, you know, that's ideal for them because it just takes another aspect of difficulty away that, you know, they just have to flip a switch and it's ready to go. So, you know, a sight-challenged person, you know, can run that just perfectly, Roger.
Yes, sir. It makes a big difference, and yeah, that would definitely help them for sure. Wished everybody had one. If I had enough pocket knives, I'd just trade and get everybody one.
Hey, Roger that. Oh, Roger that. But now listen, you know, you would have to find a lot of folks interested in the pocket knives. I don't know if you'd be able to find enough folks to make that kind of trade with, Roger.
Roger, I don't know if I'd find that many people with RM Midley amplifier that wanted to trade either. The fella had this thing sitting in a box. He wasn't using it. Wasn't going to use it. And it's been sitting in a box for about 3 years, he said. Just very fortunate to run into it and trade him out of it.
Oh, Roger, Roger. Now, you know, if it were me, and I would get something like that in a box, I would have that box open before I got home. I'd have it opened in the car, you know, figuring it out and just imagining what I was going to do with it. I'd be through that door, and in 10 seconds, I'd be running that box, Roger.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was very excited to get it home and hook it up just to see what it would do, and so far it's performed very well, done everything I've asked of it, and then some extra. It's just a good amplifier all the way around. I've enjoyed it.
Roger, well, your signal is just outstanding. I'm looking at your audio on a VU meter, the audio out from my receiver, and you know, I've got your volume at 0 level on my VU meter, and when you stop talking, you know, it shows me the noise level, and that's yeah, that meter's all the way down at the bottom around at 10 or 15. So you're 10 to 15 dB above the noise level, Roger.
Oh, that makes me feel good then. That makes me feel like I'm doing something. I'm up there with the big boys then. If I'm able to do that. I appreciate the report. That helps me know what I'm doing and does make me feel a little bit better.
Roger, your audio EQ curve sounds good too. You got a good station going on there, and we have been recording you, and we will be posting it up on YouTube here in the next couple of days. So if you get a chance, go to YouTube and you can do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and that'll take you to our Qso-Vlog page. And on that page, you'll see one of the sessions that says my group Aircheck, and the date will be 9/28/18, and the frequency 7189. So, you know, you open that up, and this will be the whole QSO from 10:30 till usually around noon. Roger?
Roger, Roger. Appreciate it, sir. Well, I'm going to get off and let you go ahead and talk to someone else. I know someone else would love to talk with you. It's certainly been a pleasure speaking with you this morning, and just a great joy. Thank you for the radio check, and thank you for being there.
Roger, Roger, Larry. 3 is underway, sir. Sounding perfect. A lot of signal today so far. So you take it easy down that way. 3s. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and this is the Friday morning Qso-Vlog session. We run usually between 10:30 and noon on Fridays. And if you have a radio that you want to check out the audio, give us a shout. We are recording. We'll record it and post it up on YouTube.
KC9 Victor, Kilowatt Victor, from Whiskey America 3, Foxtrot Echo Tango, WA3FET, like the transistor.
Well, good morning, Fett. How you doing?
Very good morning to you also, Jim. And my name is Jim also, same as yours. And I am located near State College, which is right in the center of the state of Pennsylvania. And State College is also the home of Penn State University, the Nittany Lions. Anyway, a friend of mine contacted you, I guess about a week ago. His call was K0LO, Lima Oscar, and he's a fellow that I work with a lot here, and we've been working with some equipment, and he called in and told me about your group here. And also I listened to the YouTube, and I actually heard several other friends that came out that day, K2QBV and K1CAL. So I thought I'd check it out myself and give you a call. And also I did read your webpage, and I want to congratulate you and all the years you've been in the broadcast business as well. Anyway, great signal. You're 59++ here into near State College, Central PA. KC9VKV, WA3FET, like the transistor.
Roger, Roger, Jim. Beautiful signal. A beautiful signal. Tell me about your radio, your system, what you got there.
Okay, very good. Well, I'm using an older radio. I have other ones here, but it's sort of a nostalgic radio I like to use. It's a Yaesu FT1000MP Mark V, and then that is driving an Ameritron AL1200 amplifier. And I'm running right at 1500 there, Jim, right at the legal limit. And the antenna is a combination 80 and 40 meter inverted V, all from the same feed point. And if you look top down, it would sort of look like a bow tie, and it's up off the tower. I live on top of a hill, so I have a pretty good location. I have other radios here too. K3 sitting here, 7300, 950 SDX, and so forth. But this is sort of the one I like to use quite a bit. Anyway, you're sounding great here as well. And if you would, I would like to make one maybe critical comment, if you'd like to accept that, Jim. KC9VKV, WA3FET.
Roger, Roger, Jim. Go ahead.
Okay, somebody else was breaking in also, Jim, so I think you may have some others. I won't hold it too long so you can get some others to come in as well, but I heard some other stations coming in there. Yes, your audio is excellent. I'm trying to remember what rig you said you were using there on the YouTube, but my memory is failing me right now, but you can repeat that. And the audio is excellent, and your audio on the YouTube as it comes through is excellent as well. The only somewhat a little bit critical comment, don't take it too bad there, is that my friend here, K0LO, and myself, we did hear a little bit of some distortion, we thought, on the receive audio that you're getting off the receiver, and I thought maybe the level might just be a little too high or something there. It just wasn't quite as good as the other audio, but don't take it too critical. I just thought I'd pass along. You might want to check it and see as a constructive comment. But you're doing a great thing here, getting ham radio publicized on YouTube and letting a lot of stations come in and check their signals and stations, and my hat is off to you there, Jim. But that's the only little comment I'd make. It just sounded like there was a little bit of distortion on the received audio on YouTube compared to the way the audio is direct there. That's the only constructive comment there. But please don't take it too strong, because you're doing a great job. KC9VKV, WA3FET.
Roger, Jim. I have noticed from time to time that there will be a distortion in the receiver that then will clear up. And what I'm doing is I'm running a real low RF front end. I'm just under AGC compression most of the time, just to keep the AGC from sucking up between words, and so I'm using just a bare minimum RF, kind of like the philosophy of receiving CW. Just introducing enough RF to get the job done. Matter of fact, my RF and AF gain are tied together, so I bring both up, and usually I'm hitting the point of where I'm looking to hit level-wise at just under the AGC compression. Roger.
Oh, I understand there, Jim, and yes, that sounds excellent. And to be honest, I have not listened to other sessions that you've had on there. It might have just been that day. It could have just been that particular session that had some of that detected in it. But I know getting levels adjusted is the key, and it might have been just that particular day the levels were just off a little, because I know you're using good equipment, and it was a really good sound on your own voice directly there, and your audio is excellent on your equipment. So it just might have been the levels were out that particular time. I will take a listen again, and maybe some others could comment too in the future there. But as I said, I haven't listened to all the other sessions, so it might have just been that particular day, Jim. Anyway, I won't hold it too long, because there were some other stations coming in again. So please pass along what radio again you are using, and power and antenna, because your signal is 5.9 plus here into my system right now. Jim, go ahead.
Roger. Well, this is a homebrew condenser microphone feeding an ART preamp, feeding a third octave equalizer, and then up to the tabletop with a 6-position rotary switch to select the radio, and a toggle on toggle off switch, and then into the radio, which is a Yaesu, an older Yaesu 990, and out of that into the Heathkit SB220, and then from that on up to the inverted V dipole. Roger.
Roger there, Jim. Sounds great. And I remember the FT990 quite well. That radio always had excellent audio, and you have quite a professional lineup getting into it. I'm using, of course, the Yaesu as well, sort of a brother to yours, but I am using the Yaesu microphone, the MD200. You may have seen that. It sort of looks like a studio mic you might see on the desk of Johnny Carson or something, but it's a dynamic mic inside, and seems to match pretty well with my voice and this Yaesu radio. On the some of the other radios, like the K3 and the 7300, I have to use a condenser mic, and I have an element that is actually the MD200 allows you to put another element in, and it has a switch, and it's all wired up so that you can just stick another element in and then throw the switch, and you're on the other microphone. So that's what we do when we switch radios here. Anyway, sounding great, Jim, and the FB220, certainly a great workhorse for years as well. Very familiar with that. Okay, well, I should not monopolize this and let you work some more with such great signals. I know the band, it's sort of, up and down on some signals, but you're very stable. It's better than a phone call here right now, or 2-meter FM the way you're coming in. KC9 Victor, Kilowatt Victor. And I will try to check in with you again sometime. I'm down to Puerto Rico next week, but we'll definitely try to check in again there, Jim. KC9 Victor, Kilowatt Victor, and I will be very interested to hear how the recording sounds on YouTube. WA3FET.
Roger, Jim. Now, I was just surprised that you're not running that 7300.
Oh, I love it. The 7300. I bought one when it first came out, Jim, and I've had many radios. I've built several contest stations in Puerto Rico and here in Pennsylvania. We've used all kind of radios, and I've been licensed a long time, so I've been through a lot of radios, probably like yourself there. But when the 7300 came out, and I paid the full price the first week it came out, I always thought that was the most fun radio I've ever played with. And so I told Bob Howell about it, and we were on his Ham Nation there with, I got a group of guys that we were all using 7300s. And that night was 7300 night on Ham Nation. And so we actually had contacts with Bob Howell and his Ham Nation, and I mentioned about how great that 7300 is, and I still think it's a great radio. I have used the 7610, the new one. It definitely has some newer features and so forth, but I think the 7300 is still an excellent radio. And with the price lowered, somebody told me the other day, was down to $975. That's the best deal on ham radio, Jim.
Oh, that's a roger that. And I understood that just recently that 7300 came in 12th on a test situation out in California. I forget who it was, but it came in 12th overall of the radios available. And, we're talking radios many thousands of dollars. So that 7300 is definitely a feather in one's cap if one can, get one of those radios. Unfortunately, I can talk about it, but that's about it. But it is a beautiful radio, and a lot of features for the buck.
I agree 100% there, Jim. It is just great. And with the testing of Rob Sherwood, that usually does most of the testing with the ARRL as well. A lot of people trust Bob Sherwood's numbers, and it comes out very good. One thing some people have problems with is they don't know how to use the preamps in it and the RF gain. It's a whole different situation when you're using a direct sampling SDR radio. And on this band, you would never want to have the preamp on. Completely turn the preamp off. And then also the RF gain. If you turn the RF gain down, it's different than a regular type radio, because you're converting it into digital, and if you have too much signal, it's going to overload. You'll get the highest bits, and it will overload. And when that happens, you'll hear all kind of carriers and intermod products and things coming in from out of band. But as long as you keep the preamp turned off, in fact, I usually keep the preamp turned off completely on all the bands unless I need it. Now, up on 6 meters, that's a different situation. Then you will probably need the preamp, but then you're not going to see the overload light come on. But with knowing how to use the radio and knowing the numbers that Rob Sherwood measured, it comes right up there. You're completely correct on that, Jim. It is a great radio. It's just a lot of fun. It's a little tiny thing, but it is a lot of fun, and I've never heard a bad one on Transmit. Never. And the hand mic is one of the best microphones for that radio as well. They really do have a winner. Of course, there's some new radios coming out. The Yaesu FT 101 DX and the MP, they're coming out soon. The Kenwood has the 890 that is out, I believe, now. It's a little pricey, but it's hard to beat that 7300. If I would recommend it to anybody for their first radio, or maybe even a radio they've used for a long time, Jim. Go ahead.
Oh, roger that. Yeah, this band, I'm running about 12 dB attenuation. About 12 dB attenuation, and again with the reduced RF front end, just to avoid that distortion. But anyway, if you go to YouTube and check out your audio, give me a shout back and we'll compare notes, Jim. I appreciate it. This will be posted up on YouTube in the next couple of days, so if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search, Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, it'll show up, and then the session will be my group Aircheck, date 9/28/18 on 7189. Roger?
Roger, Jim, and thank you so much. I hear a whole bunch of other stations underneath making comments and calling, so I think you're going to have quite a host of stations calling in there. Anyway, thank you so much, Jim. It's been a real pleasure to speak with you. I just found out about this group and recording session about a week ago, as I said, from my friend K0LO, who's located in town here, and you're doing a great job and a great promotion for getting hams on the air and checking out their stations and making comments. And again, congratulations in all your years of working in the broadcast industry. My hat is off to you. What you need to do, Jim, is you need to join a group that I'm a member of called the Radio Club of America. Radio Club of America. Just look it up, and the Radio Club of America would be honored to have you in that organization, and they've had many prestigious people and non-prestigious people over the years as members and honorees and so forth. So please look that up, and if you're not a member, think about joining that too. 73, Jim, and have a great morning, and I know you have a whole host of people waiting there. I will check it out. KC9VKV, hope to talk to you again sometime. WA3FET. There's State College, Pennsylvania now, signing clear. Very good morning, Jim.
Roger, Jim. Great signal. Looking at your audio the whole time on VU meter, and you have about a 3 dB dynamic range, which is just excellent. Really fat audio. A ton of audio there, and it all sounds great. So we'll say threes up that way. Appreciate the shout, and don't be a stranger. Come back any time. Have a good day, sir. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor.
Kilo 2 Yankee November.
Kilo 2 Yankee November. Go ahead.
Well, hello, Jim. This is K2YN, and we are in Simpsonville, South Carolina. We've talked once before, and you're coming in beautifully here to South Carolina. And the name is John. And just thought we'd pay a visit and say hi. I realize you record this and put it on YouTube, and that's kind of neat. Go ahead.
Roger. John, how is billiards?
Oh, it's good. I haven't really played much in the last few days. I've been rewiring the shack, and I just finished, and I'm going to put a picture on QRZ tomorrow of when I clean up around it. I still have the boxes with the cables to label and put back on the shelf and put the tools away. Stuff like that. Over?
Oh, Roger. I think station design is just, it's a whole thing within itself. I've tried to lay out my studio with, the radio power amp on one side, audio stuff on the other side. Try to separate those as much as possible, because you don't want your audio preamp next door to your KW, and you don't want your ground, your spider system. I had a great deal of problems connecting my audio preamp to the same ground as my SB220 ground. So consequently, I wound up with 3 grounds, one just for the power amp and associated antenna tuner and antenna selector. I have a 1/6 position rotary switch that I catch most everything on, and then I have one that goes through the tuner for 80 meters. But anyway, so 3 grounds, but 2 of those grounds share a common spider to the other part of the equipment, which is one of those is the preamp ground, which is, like I say, separated from the power amp ground.
Yeah, well, we do essentially some of the same thing here, but I have a 220 line for my linear, so it's a separate cable through the wall and here to the station location, and then I run from a different part of the panel and the other side of the panel, actually, in the ground connection. I run the 115 to all the other equipment. Also, I have what I call a chain filter to keep things clean. Trip light, okay, makes breakout boxes, or power strips, you might call them, that have a filter per every 2 plugs. So it's 25 dB of attenuation at the first pair, 50 dB attenuation to RFI on the second pair, and on the third pair on a 6 outlet box. The 6th pair is 75 dB attenuation. And I have 5 of those boxes stretched along the length of an 8-foot table, and over on the left side I have a 4-foot table, forming an L for my operating. And I have plenty of plugs. You don't have to pull the lines all the way over to some location. You drop your AC cord straight down and it'll go right into a box, a power box. And so by the time the AC has reached the computer, which is at the end, it's gone through 4 of these 75 dB filters. The first filter box has just the basics, not the radio equipment. The second filter box at the 75 dB point, I plugged in the DC power for my transceiver. And it goes on like that. I use the leftmost plugs for the sensitive equipment because that's the highest dB of attenuation RFI in these boxes. A lot of people aren't aware of them. Usually a box has 1 filter and that's it. But these have 3. Over?
Oh, that's great. And I'm assuming what you're saying is these boxes are under the table towards the back?
Correct. You're right, Jim.
Roger, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And, obviously now you're running that new setup, Roger?
Yes, that's correct, too.
Roger, sounds good, man. Sounds really good. The whole thing is, keeping RF going in the one area and the audio going in another area, and hopefully never the two shall meet. RF and the AF and stuff like that.
Right. It's the power's off to the right, and the AF is in the center of the table. And the transceiver and all the RF generation equipment is off to the right. Over.
Roger, Roger. Well, that's that's the way it should be. Just kind of keep things segregated. Because, like I say, with me and I fought for a long time RF and the AF because I got so much stuff tied to both ends. I mean, I got a bunch of stuff tied to the mic input of the radio. I mean, it goes through a whole situation there. And then I've got a bunch of stuff tied to the output of the radio, just to facilitate our Qso-Vlog recording and stuff. And so, when you start hanging stuff on the front end of a radio and then put a KW 2 foot away, it's kind of like asking for trouble. And so it took quite a while. And you would one of those things where you would solve the problem on one band, and then you would go to another band, and all of a sudden you got a problem there, and you would solve that, and you go back to another band, and you would have a problem there. So back and forth, and eventually, like I say, I wound up with three grounds, and things tend to have calmed down somewhat since then, Roger.
Roger. Yes, I have two. And the 115 volt AC, as I described, has a string of filters on it, which the filtration to RFI and EMI just increases as you go down the line. And at the end of the line is the PC that operates my SDR radio. So it's all been planned a bit, with that in mind. And we're running the Anon 7000 DLE, and the amplifier is an Alpha 8410. And that's going into a AT4K Powstar tuner, out a balanced feed line to a 40-meter double extended ZEP at 75 feet. And the broadside's looking your way. Jim, go ahead.
Oh, Roger. Now, you're running through the tuner all the time, or just some of the time?
In this case, all the time. I am changing antennas in October. And I'll be running balanced feed line all the way into the shack, which will be fine because I trim it to the proper length where you have no RFI on, 160 through 10. And I've done this in the past and it's worked out. And then the other antenna will be coaxial fed, and that will not require a tuner. I usually, on the lower frequencies, I usually run through a tuner because on the edges of the band, I cut for resonance in the middle. On the edges of the band, you come up a couple tenths, and I like to flatten that out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I do all my trim at middle frequency, and then, hopefully you do have excursions of SWR as you approach the outer bands, but how often are you actually out to one edge of the band or the other? Usually you're somewhere in between, and so I just trim for middle frequency, and I have a way, I've got 3 inverted V's, and I started a tuning method on the inverted V's of I'm not using a balun, I am running a choke on those bands. Let's see, it's 15, 20, and 40, and those are inverted V's off the tower. I had to convert some of my middle guys to inverted V's, but I do have 3 of them. And I started a tuning method whereby I would do my SWR nibbling on the negative side, and I would bring it back onto frequency on the high side of the dipole, and back and forth and back and forth. And so those 3 inverted V's are running 1.01 to 1, Roger.
Right, at these frequencies, correct?
At middle frequency on the bands, Roger.
Right, 7.15. Okay. And their dipoles are relatively broad. So you've got good coverage of that antenna. And you really don't have to worry about a couple tenths. So, you don't need the tuner. Cover the whole band. 80 meters is the one where I find you come up on the ends. If you tune to 3.75, you will come up to about, 2.3 to 1 on the edges with the dipole. Go ahead.
Well, now see, you're showing off. You got your higher ranking license than I, because my center frequency on 40 meters is 7237, right?
Oh, okay. I thought, the absolute center is what I was thinking of. But, irrespective of license. And so that's what I had thought. So I see what you're saying. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, the extra class privilege lets you go a lot lower on those, on 40, I have to quit at 7175.
Well, I do CW, so to me 7150 makes sense. Go ahead.
Roger that. Well, so you have a much bigger problem than I do. My band pass on these different meters is a lot less because of my general class license, so it's a more restricted band pass that I have to deal with, Roger.
Right, yes. So you can get a beautifully flat SWR across your spectrum, no problem. I can see that.
Roger, I have a little rise up on the edges, but maybe 0.3 or 4, off from the center. But I'm so seldom out that far that I don't worry about that too much.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It's not going to hurt anything. And your losses are minimal at that point. So anyway, let's see now. Haven't thought about dinner tonight, but I actually cook here too. My wife may pick up another job, Jim, and she worked for Booz Allen Hamilton, and at one point she was consulting too. And then she came down here to retire. They were kind of burning her out, and she got a call from a headhunter, of all things, and they were very interested in her, and she may take it on. So the point of it is, I'll be doing a little less ham radio because I'll be cleaning the house and I'll be making dinner. K2YN.
Oh, Roger. Well, just put your chef's hat on and break out the Julia Child's cooking book. I think it was her. I'm not sure, but or you Google. Google is great for if you want to find out something, anything. Google's got the answers. So just consider Google your backup inspiration for cooking, Roger.
Right. Yeah, I'm good in the kitchen, so I've got many hours of experience cooking. And she likes the idea of coming home to a plate of my food. But that doesn't mean I don't refer to cookbooks. It depends on what dish it is. I haven't cooked every dish in the world. I have personal recipes that I keep in a tin. And I have about 50 personal recipes. So, cookbooks can have hundreds. And there was a call I heard for you, Jim, I believe. That was N9VX was in there too, so maybe I'll step aside and let him pop in. He probably has a good signal to you, Jim. Over.
Roger that, John. Well, let me say threes to you, sir. Sounding beautiful as normal, and I hope that you. I got something on the screen here. What is that? Okay. I just got this new monitor, and I had to shift my resolution to 2 or 3 grades up resolution-wise to make it fill the screen, and now I'm looking at this monitor, and gosh, I haven't ever seen an image quite that big. It's intimidating. Anyway, John, 3's to you, sir. Like I say, great signal, and we'll be posting this up on YouTube in the next couple of days. So you know the drill. YouTube with a call letter search of Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. And that'll bring up the QSO page, and look for my group Aircheck 92818 on 7189. So 3's John, a pleasure. Roger.
Roger, Jim, very good. And I enjoyed the time with you here. I like to spend a little time with you. It's always very pleasant and many times informative. So we'll say 73s, and I stay away from politics as a rule, but I'm going to just say quickly, I believe Kavanaugh. I like him. This is K2YN, handing it back to KC9VKV. Go ahead, Jim.
Roger, Roger. I think you may be right there, but time will tell. I mean, you know, it's unfortunate that the man has to endure what he has endured, but you know, that is politics of today, you know, and that is what it is. So unfortunately, anyway, 3's that away, John, and this is KC9VKV with the Friday morning Qso-Vlog. And we're getting ready to wrap up here. If there's anybody else that wants to record their audio, go ahead. We'll record it and post it up on YouTube. Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. And with nothing heard, we'll be wrapping up. This is KC9VKV concluding the Friday morning Qso-Vlog recording. Appreciate everyone's participation. And with any luck, we'll be back on the air next Friday. And we'll be posting this QSO within the next couple of days up on YouTube. So if you do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, that will bring up the Qso-Vlog page, and on that page you'll find one entity called My Group Aircheck, date 9/28/18 on 7189. So that will be the whole hour and a half QSO, and then usually during the week we will break out specific QSOs from that main recording and post those separately during the week. So 3's all. Catch you later. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. Be clear.